love and friends and family.
It's all about sharing a feast and cheers.
It's always been happy cause the children are dear.
It's all about peace every time of the year.
If only I could see your face again, not behind the screen at the other end.
If only we could party, kick back your boots, just let me.
Wishing Christmas night, we'll be together again.
It's all about the family. It's all about TNC. What? It's all about the family. Don't fret, don't sweat. You know what it is, cause you know and I know we'll be together again.
We'll go together to be together. It's Christmas time once again, and you know how we'll begin. Spread love and receive blessings from above.
If only I could see your face again, not behind the screen at the other end. If only we could party, kick back your boots, just let me.
Wishing Christmas time we'd be together again.
Wishing Christmas time we'll be together again.
The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNC Now.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the new channel. Our passion transforms a community channel that sees all things new. My name is Jennifer Nuya, live streaming from Cavite, Philippines, and you're watching Stories from the Fringe. For those who are tuning in for the first time, Stories from the Fringe aims to push for more diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in all aspects of our lives. We are committed to creating a world where individual differences like gender, class, ability, among others, are not only seen and understood but also celebrated. We can all be a part of this collective vision. In order to make the most of our time together, we recommend that you turn off all distractions, prepare to take notes mentally in, and just be fully engaged with our guest today, Shaun, Svensdotter. Today, I'm happy to welcome Sven, good friend of mine. Shaun, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jennifer, for the warm welcome. As always, really looking forward to going through and just sharing everything we do. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure our audience, our viewers, wherever they may be, are also looking forward to listening and learning from you today. So, can you please share a brief background about yourself and the work that you do?
So I myself, I'm a property developer, inventor, engineer, and coach. And
All right. So, I
over the
think
years,
that Sean is experiencing some technical glitches.
ah,
So, just a brief background about Sean. Sean, as an entrepreneur, a property developer, business builder, inventor, writer, and coach with unique experience across an array of industries, and a father of three, and has been with his wife for 20 years through all sorts of endeavors and disasters. So they've been together, and with his resourcefulness, able to coach what he coaches, and he is quietly, um, quietly rarely matched in his coaching program. So, Sean,
can you hear me now?
yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. And yeah, and through the last several years, we got ourselves to the point where it has been increasingly harder and harder to find the pieces to the puzzles that we've needed. And so this particular year, we decided to add coaching to what we do and rebuild our positions and go forward that way, along with still getting our hands dirty in the property development space. And that's why we called it NFN coaching because Kelly and I, we refer to normals as those that don't like learning, that don't like growing, and that sort of thing, versus ourselves and people like your audience that love to learn more. They put themselves out there and actually try things, and they understand that failure is part of the things and those types of things. So we call it NFN coaching for not for normals. So yeah.
Not for normals. Why? Is there anything wrong with being normal?
Well, normal is just seems to be getting like a much more worse definition over time. Like we're finding so many people that um, there's so many people that we would say as normal. They have books on the shelf, but they don't seem to realize that they're open and there's information inside them, kind of thing. Whereas the ones that are less normal actually open the books and read them, and that seems to be becoming more and more rare. So I guess we could have went with rare coaching, but that was seems to be overdone.
Okay. Ouch. I felt that because I'm a book hoarder. I have a lot of books. I have a mini library at home. But some are half read, some are quarter read, and
Well,
some
that's
are
right
not yet
because
read at all.
that's okay. You've opened them. That's a start. You've discovered words inside them. You're learning from them, and you just means you haven't finished them yet. That's okay. What I'm talking about is people that have got books on their shelves that they haven't even read the back cover of, let alone open them. Right. So, like for example, several years ago, we had a really successful cleaning and gardening and paving business, and we had 3,000 clients. We had 16, 17 workers at different times, and we had 5 or 6 cars. Just like it was really growing really well, and through having those 3,000 clients, most of the time when we were having to like clean their shelves and dust the books and stuff, and would ask them, what do you think of this particular book? Most of them hadn't actually read them, hadn't opened them, didn't realize how they opened or something. Some of them still had plastic like wrapping on them, like
Wow.
when they came as a set. There's a few of them that came as like a box set. It's like, for example, the Harry Potter series. They had the box set and they still had the plastic wrapping on it. I was like, well, that's there's always more stuff in the book than what there is in the movie, even when it is fiction. But when you get to like some of them had 50 Shades of Grey, had no idea what it was about, right? But they had it on their shelf. They had Robert Kiyosaki and Cash Flow Quadrant and like his really good books of Rich Dad Poor Dad series, and they had no idea what they're about. They were just put on the shelf. You know, those are the people that had no idea what was in their books, what was on their bookshelf. Those are what we're classing as normals, and we found that to be like 85 to 90% of the people out of the 3,000 we were serving. So I'm looking for the ones like yourself that actually open the book and they discover that there's words in there and they go, wow, more information, you know? Yeah, that.
All right. So what is normal right now are people digesting information or getting their information from TV, right?
Yes.
From social media, which at times can be misleading, right?
Yes.
So when we say not for normal or not normal, these are people who really try to digest what's in the book and try to do their own research, think for themselves,
Yes.
right?
Yes, exactly. The ones that can think for themselves. You know, the ones that can realize there's no value in that information there. There's value here, and I can apply that directly to my life and improve my life. And if I can apply and improve my life, then I should be able to apply and improve the lives of the ones I love around me. You know, so I did a session this morning on just the subject of respect and disrespect, you know, where if you show people that you're respecting yourself, then the people around you, your kids, your family, your loved ones are going to start respecting you too, because you're showing your self-respect. Whereas if you allow disrespect in, then you're going to put yourself in some positions where you're going to get disrespected. You know, and it's those types of things, being able to understand that you can improve your life with just small increments at a time, but you have to know what those increments are and to work out how to find the information to support that. So,
yeah. It doesn't need to be a great leap or a quantum leap, just small increments. All right. And it already adds up, right?
Yes, that's just small increments over time.
And you have a group mapping the decade. So that piqued my interest because some people, they make the annual plan. Some even have the 5-year roadmap, right? And some, they can only plan for their New Year's resolution. So why mapping our decade?
Well, a lot of people seem to be waiting for New Year's Eve just to make New Year's resolutions. But then you get a global crisis that really reveals that most people hadn't even planned for the week. And then they start doing crazy things like fighting over toilet paper in the shops. You know, that shows a real lack of planning out there in the world. Whereas I've tried so many different courses. I've had many different mentors and coaches, and I've found so many of them only give you basically their catchphrase, like instant abs in 20 days. I've got someone trying to invade the camera in the background, and sorry.
It's okay.
So for so many people are doing like abs in 20 days and things and stuff, like lose 400 pounds in a week and stuff, which we all know is going to be a catastrophe. You know, make $1 million this month, and you know that when you know that 99.9% of all cross lotto type winners have lost their money, doesn't matter what amount they get, it really doesn't make sense to keep doing what everyone else is doing and promoting short-term fixes. You know, there's even a case in the US where a guy has won over $100 million US twice and has gone broke twice and is living out of a caravan. You know, which basically means he didn't learn anything from the first experience. And it also shows that there is a lot more to holding on to wealth than just getting it. And that's where I come in. I help people plan for the long term. I've been at the 250 million, 50 million, and those types of points, and I've worked out what went wrong because they went wrong. And so I've worked out what the ingredients were missing and are able to sustain those parts now. So you need health, wealth, and relationships all being built sustainably, just incrementally over time, progressively, to maintain a level of wealth that you aim for. So, for example, if you mapping our decade, the baseline is to try and get as many people as possible. I'm aiming for 3,000 people to get to a $3 million US currency type lifestyle home and $10 million liquid type cash equivalent. Okay, that type of position, not set in stone, but that type of position I'm trying to help people aim for, but help them build the health and the relationships and the social network and the structure to actually maintain that. Because if you don't have the health, then there's not much point being rich if you're stuck in a wheelchair and you're 600 pounds. You can't enjoy that. You know, yeah, okay, at that particular size, you can afford your own forklift, but that's pretty much it. That's not a very good way to get around. You're better off actually getting your health working with you to get to that point. And if you're going to get your health and your wealth in order, then why not build your relationship skills so you have someone to enjoy these things with? So Kelly and I have been through ups and downs of all sorts of catastrophes over the last 20 years that we've been together, and have built a really great relationship where we don't have arguments. We haven't had arguments in like 18, 19 years. We have really good discussions when we have something we need to talk about, right? And those quality of relationships extend into our business network, our professional network, and other areas of our life. So when particular issues come up, we can lay everything out on the line and sit. If it takes 3 days to have a conversation about a topic, then it takes 3 days to have a conversation about that topic. But we do it until it's resolved, right? And that means that as we build our wealth back to the places that we're wanting to get to and are aiming for way above those marks, then we're going to be able to share the experience of that. You know, we're going to have like great holiday plans. We're focusing on making it so that we are helping each other be accountable to each other for health, you know, and our other decisions, and making sure that we respect ourselves. Okay, well, so we're going across the board to make it so that we incrementally, progressively increase the quality of our health, wealth, and relationships together, so that when our kids and our grandkids and they want to see us as they grow older. So Kelly and I have made the agreement that we don't want to be put in a nursing home, sitting in a bed, waiting for their sense of family obligation to kick in and visit us in the nursing home, wondering whether or not they're going to unplug our life support machine to plug in and charge their phone. We don't want to have to worry about that type of thing, right? We'd much prefer to be like really healthy and vibrant and fun, where our kids could be 70 years old and we're in our late 80s or older, or even when we're 100 and they're calling us up and say, you know, mum, dad, grandpa, you know, where are you guys? We want to go jet skiing with you or skydiving or something like that. I'd much prefer that. And so would Kelly. And I'm pretty sure our kids and grandkids would appreciate the fun times too. You know, they're not going to be bored. They're not going to be visiting decaying relatives in a nursing home. They're going to be visiting people that are actually still having fun. So, yeah. And if we can show that, then our kids are going to have an even better chance of achieving that as well. And their grandkids.
I imagine you, Shaun, jet skiing at 70 or skydiving at 80. Who's going to stop you, right?
That's exactly right, you know. It just means as I get to that age, if I have wrinkles, it's just going to help me be like, you know, more aerodynamic. So, you know, you know, it's going to add to the, you know, the squirrel suits. I love to do that, you know. be 105 and skydiving and doing those squirrel suit things and stuff through the mountains.
Wow,
That'd be
that will be a record. 105 skydiving.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So you're a rare breed, Shaun. Like you mentioned that you and Kelly, if it needs 3 days to talk about something, discuss something, you're willing to do it, because I know that some men, um, I won't pretend that I know men that much, all right? But I know
Well,
some men.
that's
they-
my fault. I did say I was going to try and find you a guy and have him wrapped up and sent to your Christmas tree, but I couldn't find a decent one good enough in time. So that's partly me to blame. But like, I've always gone into the idea of relationships that I'm not choosing a partner, even before Kelly, right? I was never choosing a partner to have someone to fight with all my life. I was choosing a partner to build something more than me together and share in that. And I realized very early on that so many people really haven't really been taught many good skills in relationships. I had to piece it together from here to here to here. But by the time that I met Kelly, I had all these plans of what I wanted to do in my future. I was choosing to take a breather and say, look, I would like to choose yourself to build these things with. And I'd gotten to the point where it was no longer a need or a want. I was just like choosing because I loved the idea, but I could just as easily do all these things and stuff or build these projects myself. So in doing that, I needed to work out before I met Kelly as to, well, how do I have discussions? How do I actually work out, what is what? How do women respond? And quite funnily enough, when I find it quite funny that when I started learning about women and wanting a relationship with them, and I learned all this stuff about romance, right? And Kelly is just like the least romantic person in the world. But ironically, over time of all the ups and downs that we've done and gone through, we've somehow built the most romantic story I've ever heard of. So I find the universe has a very big sense of humor in these things.
Maybe you were the romantic type and you rubbed it off on her.
Very, very possible, but she still doesn't buy me flowers. I bought her flowers over this. So if it really did rub off, I'm pretty sure flowers are around the corner for me.
All right, that's wonderful that you've said you needed to work on yourself first before finding a partner, because I think that not some people, all of us actually, we have our own trauma, right? There are small and big trauma. And sometimes we still have the unhealed wounds, and we try to heal it by finding someone who we feel or we think will help us heal. When in fact, we're trying to fill our cup, and by filling our cup, they are going to empty their cup into us. And that is not a very good dynamic to start with. And some children, that trauma, I believe, there is a biblical principle about this, right? But we will not go to that. But it says there that, from my understanding, is if you don't get healed, you have not done the work on yourself, and you build a family, unwittingly, you will create that same trauma or childhood wound in your children. So it perpetuates a cycle. So that's yes.
What I've actually discovered on this is that yes, we all have our traumas, and we need to heal these things, because otherwise, if we don't, then we trauma bond with the next person, and then we'll repeat these patterns, and that's where people can get hurt and everything. But what I've discovered is that if you go back at least 2 generations, so our grandparents' generation, right, before that era and before, was a lot of attachment-based relationships. Okay.
Mhm.
And these attachment-based relationships were kind of enforced by peer pressure, by tradition, by law, by church, by like different churches and workplaces. They all instilled this peer pressure of you've got to get married, you've got to then have children, then you have your whatever and stuff. But it was very attachment based, and this is what you'll see is at that generation, as our health improved as a species due to the advances we made in some things. Their lifespan increased, so we could actually watch this. So, whereas before our grandparents' generation, we couldn't really watch it because they kind of expired at 45, 50, right? But then all of a sudden they're expiring their 75, 80, 90, and we get to see something very fascinating, sad but fascinating, where one of the grandparents would pass away and the other would not know what they're doing with them, like what to do with themselves, or they'd pass away shortly after.
Yeah.
Okay, such was their attachment bond. So in my grandmother's case, on my dad's side, once my grandfather passed away on his side, my grandmother basically stopped doing anything for 30 years. And basically it was just a slow watch of her deterioration. Very sad. She got grumpier and more and more upset as she got older, but she didn't really know what to do with herself because her whole thing was to serve another, right? Then the 50s and 60s and 70s happened. So the generation of our parents, where the generation of our parents has gone, we don't like the old traditional values, we don't like the old peer pressure, and we don't like this instituted thing of push into marriage, children, house, legacy, that sort of stuff. We're just going to like take all the rules away, start again. But when they did that, they didn't have a plan as to how to do that. So every one of their children, including yourself, myself, our siblings, we're all practice kids, right? So,
okay.
we pretty much are. But by the time we get to this age, our 30s, our 40s, and in your case of 21, of course, you get to our age and we realize, hold on, it's not actually their fault. They did not know better than their best. So our grandparents' generation before were doing the best that they can. The generation of our parents were doing the best that they could, right? But it's up to us to recognize, hold on, neither of those systems work. We have to work this stuff out ourselves. We had to take full responsibility for everything, not in an unhealthy way, but in a self-care way of going, okay, how am I causing this situation so that I can fix it? And we have to come at these types of problems with the idea of, thank God it's my fault, because if it's my fault, I can fix it. If it's someone else doing it to me, then I can't fix it. You know, we need to look at things in that way so that we can do it in a self-care way, not in a arrogant or narcissistic or abusive way. Okay, and there's so many different things we had to learn to get to this point. You know. And that's what's happened. So our grandparents before that had all these systems of peer pressure, but then the next generation came around and scrapped all the rules and started from scratch, but didn't have a plan of what to do. And then we've come along and contrasted, okay, what works and what doesn't work. You know, and now it's up to us to do this for ourselves, but also for future generations. In the meantime, this has happened so widespread across 3 different generations that there's so much confusion out there that a lot of social structures are deteriorating, and there's a lot more trauma bonding happening where people get in traps of repeating toxic relationships and having all sorts of anxieties and things like that. And those things need to be healed as well. But the friendships along the way have kind of deteriorated in value over time, which is why the coaching industry seems to have exploded, right? But the coaching industry also needs to work on itself too, so that they need to start promoting more longer term programs rather than just getting people trapped into a 20-day program or a 10-day program or whatever it is they do.
Mm-hmm.
So to fix that problem, I started mapping our decade and started doing things along those lines, because I need to show people that the instant results of going straight up does not work. Because usually when you get straight up there without having to learn everything you need to learn, you come crashing back down.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you can go up 10%, if you can go up, so a lot of people, right? They aim for that to grow health, wealth, and relationships, and it's too quick because, well, you come crashing down, right? But if you do just like incremental growth, then you can go up and you can come out a little bit, go up a little bit, and you can just continue growing. Rather than having these big excesses of non-sustainable position.
Mm-hmm.
So like when Kelly and I have gone up to particular points, if we didn't work on our health and relationship enough, then we'll come crashing back down,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if we worked on all three, it would stay at a decent height, right? It would maintain. So this is why I really promote the idea of working on all three. Right. And that includes working on the relationship with ourselves. Because if we work on the relationship with ourselves as much as we work on the relationship with others, then we are able to also attract better quality people to network with, better people to be clients of, and that type of thing. So it all just fits really nicely. And yeah, and like I said earlier, what's the point of having like $10 million if you're too sick to enjoy it? You know? Yeah. Whereas I mean, some of the coaches out there and stuff, one of them tried to talk me into their workout program, and they still had burgers and like cheeseburgers as part of their nutrition plan. I was like, oh my God.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, how are they still functioning as a health coach? And I'm like, oh my God, you know, and it's just there's too much. Whereas I go on the idea of let's bring it all back to basics, right? Mm-hmm. 90% vegetables, 5% fruit, 5% meat spread across the week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, people need to know that there is thousands of different ways to make that variety work. You know, and that it doesn't have to be boring. And that also, if it has a label on it, it's pretty much probably not good for you, because if it has a label, then it's usually got preservatives in it. And people also need to know that preservatives are not put in the food for us.
No.
They're put on the food to make it look prettier on the shelf for longer. You know, and when we realize, hold on, it's not even put on the shelf for us. And then we need to realize the next level to that. Well, hold on. Our stomach digests food. Well, what does that mean? Well, our stomach rots food. A preservative prevents rot, which means if you're eating food with preservatives, you're not getting any of the nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not getting the nutrients, then you can't think. You can't feel, and you won't be able to perform at your best.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes so much sense to like plan for decade per decade rather than a month at a time, a year at a time, and that type of thing. So,
Okay. So, hold on to that thought, mapping our decade. When we return, we will talk more about it after this short break from our sponsors.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shaun. The new channel is an online alternative media platform for online shows for people on the go. Please watch all our shows as seen on screen. Imagine having your own show, your own playlist, your own content, but we make it easier for you. TNC aims to transform the lives of our viewers through engaging, authentic, and original content. Our channel is a responsible global 24/7 platform that showcases Filipino talent, global influencers, cultural intelligence, and ingenuity. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your Thursday mornings with us. Thank you for tuning in to Stories from the Fringe, live streamed every Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Philippine Standard Time. You can watch us live or on replay via Facebook or YouTube. Follow us on IG, listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just search hashtag TNC Now. For sponsorships, please email now at thenewchannel.com or send us a DM. Enjoy these life-changing shows because we made them just for you. And thank you. I would like to take this moment to thank all our supporters. Thank you, Jan Polintan. Also, Elizar Auriada Ramirez Jr., supporting us from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Also, Dr. Alexi Reyes from CDO, Coach Al Perez, and also not to be forgotten, our creatives and our production team. Thank you, Direct Monica, for always being with us at the back end, making sure that logistics are working well. And also thank you to Razel Rocha, Direct Jan also, and also Richard Amlano for the graphics that we send out the promo posters every week. Also, thank you to Carmi Pascual de Leon, Nice, Alvir, and of course the president of the new channel, Apple Spando Manasala. Also to Brian Nuya from Scotland, my heartfelt thanks for always supporting us. And also Rowano Roberto from Paranaque and Beach Mac. Thank you so much for always supporting Stories from the Fringe, and we hope that you will continue supporting us as we end this year and we start with a new year next week, right? So that's something that you need to watch out for. All right, so before we went on a short break, we were just chatting with Shaun, Svensdotter from Australia, and he has mentioned about mapping our decade that if we want to have better, consistent results long term, let's not think of the next week or the next year, but rather think of our decade not only growing our wealth, but also our health and relationships. All right, so let's welcome once again to the show, Shaun.
Thank you. Love the way. I love the warm welcome. Thank you.
So Shaun, so you mentioned, all right, before we went on the break, mapping our decade on different areas, right? Because it doesn't make sense if you are only about growing your wealth. You need to have other pillars of your life, like relationships and also health, which are really important. All right, so that these pillars support, right, each other, making sure that you have consistent better results long term. And you mentioned also that there are some coaching programs, like, shall I say, they use this catchphrase, change your life for the better in 28 days. Or my friend and I, Alan Stevens, we were just chatting yesterday, like someone reached out to him that, mind you, Alan Stevens has been also in the industry, but not in a different industry. And he's been in that industry for a couple of years already. and someone reached out to him and said, okay, I'm teaching people how to create 6 or 7 figure incomes every month. And to his mind, okay, so if you are going to show me how to do it, can you show me your bank account?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
crickets. So, what can we say about those people? Okay, how can we help people who are being clickbaited by these coaches into taking their coaching programs?
Well, you have to kind of it goes back to what I was saying before about eating healthy, right?
Mm,
If you're not eating healthy, you can't really trust your gut. You
mm,
know, you need you need the ability to trust the data as well as your gut side by side.
mm,
You know, and if you can't trust either of those, then I'd say wait. You know, to see just to see how they pan out, because this day and age you can buy testimonials, which is why I don't usually ask for testimonials, because too many people buy them and I really just don't like the idea.
mm,
And you can there's just so many different ways to like manipulate different things,
mm,
and unfortunately it's not going to be going away anytime soon. There are quite a fair few coaching programs that I can see out there that like the one you mentioned and stuff, where they have no idea what they're doing, and they're
mm,
basically setting people up to there's a relationship coach out there that I've seen, Kelly and I have seen, and we watched a little bit of his stuff, and then we realized, hold on, he's coaching people into like getting into a relationship. He calls it a 10 out of 10 relationship.
mm,
But then we found out he's only been married 3 months.
mm,
And he only met this girl a year ago.
mm,
So how is he a relationship coach?
mm,
Myself and my wife, this is our 20th year together. Only 2% of the global population get to maintain a relationship through the 20-year mark and beyond. Only
mm.
2%, right? 95,
Staggering statistic, my goodness.
yeah. Like the average relationship span is 2 years, 9 months, like globally.
Mm,
Right? And the reason for that is our hormone levels. Usually, when a new relationship starts, our hormone levels peak for about 2.5 years, and then they start to trail off.
mm,
And this is where most people are getting married. They're concentrating on the wedding, but they haven't
mm,
planned for anything after the wedding. And this is what I'm
mm,
seeing with the problem with wealth coaches, and I'm seeing with health coaches as well. They may get people to a particular point of fitness, they may get them to a particular point of wealth, but if they
mm,
don't know what to do with it after that point, and they haven't taught them how to build their social network and their relationships to sustain that, then
mm,
usually what will happen is either the relationship will fall apart or their health will deteriorate because they didn't plan for after it, which is why, again, I concentrate on the decade at the time. Because Kelly and I, we had our ups and downs. We had so many things go wrong in those early years, but we still didn't have the arguments because we were always choosing to build something greater than ourselves together, and you need that whether you're by yourself or with a partner. You need to be able to plan to get, I would like to get to this particular position of health and wealth,
mm,
right? And I need to build, if I want to get to that position, I need to build my relationship skills so that
mm,
I can choose someone to associate with that's not just going to divorce me and take half my shit or more. Sorry for the language. But like it's the nature of the game these days is that divorce is so easy to do,
yeah.
right? And our lifespans have increased.
Mm,
Right. So like even like Kelly and I have the joke of marriage, finding that one special person to annoy for the rest of our lives, just to cheer each other up when we are annoying each other, and that just keeps the fun alive. It means you take the seriousness away and you make it a little bit more fun, and but on top of that, we've also made sure that our sex life is really great as well. So if it goes below 5 hours a week, then we know we need to address that too, and that's just our levels. But these are measuring things and stuff to work out where our drop points are, so that we know where we have to repair. Now, if we're going to aim for particular types of health, wealth, and relationships, we need to know what things we're planning after we get to those points. So in mapping our decade, I would like to aim for 3,000 people to get to the $3 million type house and the $10 million liquid cash type lifestyle. So much so that they then have it I would like most of them to get to that point in about 3 years, then have about 2 years to get bored of that point, because I know that even though I tell people to plan for after that, I still believe a fair few of them won't really know what to do after that. And they'll go, Shaun, what can I help you in your programs for? And then I'll be cultivating CEOs that are choosing to work with me, not needing to. So I'm looking at that long-term approach because of the businesses that I'm creating between now and then, and between now and 2033 in particular. I'm going to need top quality people that are truly believe in growing themselves and attracting like-minded persons around them. Because if I know that they're truly committed to growing themselves and attracting like-minded persons around them, and they've followed my instructions to get to that level, and they've got their social circle to sustain it, then that's going to be a top quality CEO for me to incorporate into my larger programs later on. So yeah, and especially now that I'm actually going to start creating extra free time for myself, so I can start building prototype designs and robotics and things in my free time to create new businesses again. So all these things all come together, and I'm afraid I've just rambled a little bit and forgotten what the actual question was.
Okay. Now, it's good, right, that we highlight the need to plan for long term. However, we know that life throws curveballs to us. How can we make space for volatility, uncertainty, ambiguity as we try to build that vision for ourselves and for our families?
Well, that's the funny thing about the nature of this universe has a very funny sense of humor. Okay,
Yes,
it really does. Okay, and once you understand that the universe's sense of humor is when you go to put on your jumper in the morning and you're about to put your arm through the armhole of the jumper, but you accidentally punch yourself in the nose instead. That's the universe's sense of humor. When you understand that, it's a lot easier to work out where the curveballs are going to come from, because once you understand that approach, that sense of humor, you'll realize that the universe did actually tap us on the shoulder a few times first, right, to let us know that if you don't change this particular thing, you're going to have a curveball coming up. Okay, so with a $250 million property deal 14 years ago, if I because I did not recognize the fact that the universe was tapping me on the shoulder to let myself know that my wife was having a health issue coming along, if I'd recognized that earlier, then I could have saved myself, my wife, and our family going through what we did, and I could have saved the property deal as well. But unfortunately lost the whole lot and almost lost my wife because I didn't recognize the tap on the shoulder first. So the idea is, once you understand that that's the universal sense of humor, then the rest of our life experience is supposed to be a growth-centric experience. It's not supposed to be a happiness experience. Happiness is supposed to be a side effect of the growth we achieve.
Right? I love that. Can you please repeat that?
Yeah. So our life experience, when we get to particular levels of growth,
Mm-hmm.
we get this all-encompassing feeling all the way through of us are realizing that our
Mm-hmm.
life experience is not supposed to be a happiness-based experience. We're not
Mm-hmm.
even supposed to aim for happiness. We need to understand that our life experience is a growth-centric experience, and that
Mm-hmm.
happiness is a side effect,
Okay,
right?
so this is the first time I'm hearing this. So interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's like the benefits of a successful growing business is
Mm-hmm.
money is a side effect. Profits
Mm-hmm.
are a side effect of a
Mm-hmm.
healthy growing business. Sometimes it takes a short time to do, sometimes it takes a long time to do. But with a successful business, money is a side effect. It's not the goal.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is to grow the business and learn, grow the
Mm-hmm.
business and learn. Same with a relationship, right? Our relationship is not supposed to be aimed for sex. Sex is supposed to be a side effect of a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so over the 20 years, Kelly and I's relationship, like sex, would average between 5 and 15 hours a week, right? But that's our relationship. But we know what creates that as a side effect of a growing relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Some years it's less, some years it's more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it's understanding that we're not aiming for that. It's a natural side effect of a healthy, growing relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right? That interaction takes place. Just like the rest of our life experience, we don't aim for like when you're dancing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great example. The purpose of the dance is to dance, right? The purpose of the dance is not to arrive on a particular spot on the floor. Okay, so that's like you're growing and you're feeling your partner that you're dancing with.
Mm-hmm.
That's another aspect of the relationship, right? Because you're experiencing that time, that energy with your partner, and growing from that to enjoy the dance. Happiness is a side effect of that interaction. You
Mm-hmm.
know, with our other life experiences, in every other shape and form, we grow a bit and we enjoy the fruits of that growth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And usually our biggest pieces of growth happen when we just are struck with tragedy. We're not supposed to have as many tragedies as we do,
Mm-hmm.
but our human species really hasn't quite got the gist of why we're here. Um, our species is very childlike.
Yes, yes. So
um,
cute.
where one of our mutual mentors says it in a really great way, where the universe will not give a 5-year-old a Lamborghini, right?
Mm.
We, as parents, would not give our children a Lamborghini either, you
No.
know? And even when we get through our 30s and 40s and we've grown a really great relationship and wealth and everything, and we think we've taught our 20-year-old how to respond and be responsible for everything, we still would not give the keys to that Lamborghini,
No.
right, at the age of 20 because they haven't grown enough.
No. Mm. Yeah.
Right? And at that particular point, what we're looking for to indicate that they've grown enough, right, that they've done enough growth experience to enjoy the reward of the Lamborghini is the fact that they're respecting themselves.
Yeah.
Because if they're respecting themselves, they're usually respecting everyone around them as well.
Mm.
And not in an unhealthy way. Like it's a mutual thing where they can respect themselves and still respect others around them. You know, whereas the unhealthy side is it's not really respect. It looks like it in some ways where they're buying something for themselves or whatever at the other end, but like they don't usually do anything for others. Whereas the more you grow wealth and the more you grow really good, strong relationships, social structures, and everything else, is that you give as much as you receive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's the way you give is the way you receive. So if we can see that our, say, 25, 30-year-old child has grown and learned how to respect themselves and those around them, we may say, you know what, you've done really well. I'd like you to try out this really cool toy. Right? Because I believe you'll not only enjoy it, but you'll come out of that experience understanding and feeling that reward, rather than giving it to a 20-year-old that doesn't have that sense of self-respect, doesn't have that the sense of respecting those around them, and hasn't done the internal growth work, and it's just going to like, oh, I want the car, I'm going to drive the car as fast as I can, with no respect for the idea that if they hurt themselves, they're going to hurt us as well just by seeing it. They don't get that at that age, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I say, yeah, it's the growth experience that helps us appreciate true happiness. Like in the early years of a relationship, my wife's snoring used to like drive me nuts, right? But in the last 12 years or so and stuff, is like, it's just beautiful. It's like, oh, you know, I got appreciation, the fact that she's there, you know, and I'm so lucky. And, you know, I can take that moment to really enjoy that moment because we've grown so much together, you know, whereas when we'd only been together a year, it was like, oh, why are you snoring so loud? Kind of thing. It's a very different contrast, you know, because I hadn't done the growth work myself, you know, and nor had she at that time, you know, but yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Shaun. So one thing that I get from your sharing is, number one, it reminds me of what Alan Watts said. Alan Watts said that wanting a positive experience is actually a negative one, because by wanting, let's say, happiness, you are consciously or unconsciously admitting to yourself that you lack happiness.
Yes.
And the more you chase happiness, happiness is like a butterfly. Okay, so someone else said that. Happiness is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more it flies away. But if you are still, you know, and just preparing to receive, then that's when the butterfly alights on you. So that's how, also, as you've mentioned, if you're not actively seeking happiness for happiness sake, but rather just trying to grow, evolve as a person, then happiness will come to you as a side effect, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
also, yes, I would agree with you. Even if we had the means to give whatever our children or our loved ones want or desire, but if they are not prepared, it might do more harm than good. So
Yeah.
that's also, there are times when I pray for something, I desire something, and I get impatient, disappointed, like, God, why is it taking so long? But then I realize, coming from another perspective, perhaps I'm still not yet ready, right? So that period of waiting that God is asking me, right? Use this period of waiting, prepare for it, so that when it comes, you will not squander it. You will
Yes.
not destroy it, right?
Yes, exactly. And it's the same at the other end of the scale as well with forgiveness. So some people have been so hurt. Like my own parents were narcissistic abusers. They broke cricket bats across my back. They hired someone to kill me at one point, and all sorts of things, right? But at one stage, I wanted forgiveness for those things. But when I realized there was a way to work out how to forgive myself, then I actually began to heal, you know, and it's the same with the wants and the, you know, I would love to have this and stuff. Well, to want that is to be, as you said, like telling the universe you don't have it. However, if you go out to say, I would like, I'm going to do my growth work so that I can serve better. Okay. I'm going to serve better from my growth work so that I can give, I can provide value. In many ways, I can provide value as a business or as a service, right? And I'm willing to receive the gifts of that service.
Mhm.
Okay. And in this particular context, it could be that I'm going to provide value in the form of coaching, and the gifts of that service is that I get a client who pays on time, etc., etc. Or
Mhm.
it could be that the gifts of that service is that they refer me 3 other people that do.
Mhm.
Or they might put me in touch with someone who's able to build another part of my engineering side of things. Or they might be able to put me in touch with someone who's able to finance my property developments or things like that.
Mhm.
But the idea is to serve, knowing exactly what your vision is, what you're aiming for, what you're trying to build that you'd be happy with for the long term, so you're minimizing the regrets you have at the end, and just giving in that type of service, and like just balancing it all out. You're allowing the flow of give and receive through serving as many as you possibly can. And so my plans, even though I'm teaching people how to plan for the decade, I have about 70 years worth of plans. So, either way, I have to live to about 110 just to get shit done. But like, I'm going to be serving a lot of people in that time. It's not always going to be coaching. Coaching should be only about the next 5-6 years and stuff before I'm able to train a few others to do a lot of it for me. No worries. But that's part of growing a business.
Mhm.
But I'm still going to be providing service through that, and I'm going to be providing value, and I'll be receiving the gifts of that service as a result, as a side effect.
Mhm.
Right? Whereas if I went out and just said, I want $10 million now, then there's 2 options. Either I will win it in the form of lottery and then lose it straight away, or I'll prevent myself from getting it from telling the universe I don't have it. So my grandparents actually, they did win lottery when in 2000 or 2001 they won $900,000. And the very first thought the very first thought I had when they won that is like, so happy for them, because they tried so hard to get where they got and everything else. And the very first thought I had after that was, if they can win it, then I can make it. And so I started concentrating my efforts on learning all the things I need to do about finance, business. I've had to learn about international patent law, how to do IPOs. I've had to learn different strategies of property development across over 100 countries. I've learned so many different things, so that as I grow, because I have a particular strategy in mind, I know the only way I can fill the knowledge gaps in those arenas is to actually do. Right? And so what's coming in the next few years are really cool stuff. But the sad thing is about my grandparents winning it is because learning all these extra things about spirituality and self-growth and the growth experience is to give these extra benefits. It also meant that my grandparents were old enough to be set in their ways, that I could not help or save them from my parents stealing all their finances and that sort of stuff before they passed away. So I had to watch that from a distance, because I was kind of outcast from the family a bit. So that was quite sad, but yeah. But again, they didn't learn the social skills and the relationship skills that they needed to keep it. Their relationship was attachment based. Their relationship it may have started off as more attachment based and then grown into love over time, but it was very attachment based because of the way the traditions were back in those times, and they're very set in their ways. Yeah. But the life experience is supposed to be a growth centric experience. So
yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Shaun. I'm really sad to learn that happened to you, to your grandparents.
Thank you, but it's part of
Yeah.
the life experience as well to actually go through. And our life experience is to feel as well. Every feeling that we feel is there for a reason. We're meant to feel sad. so that we grow things so that we don't have to feel sad as often. We're meant to feel anger to push us into action to do the things we wouldn't usually do, right? Because when we get past the age of 18, what no one tells us, no one across the world tells us, once we get past the age of 18, we have to parent ourselves. You know, it's up to ourselves once we leave the nest, once we leave our parents and stuff, we have to tell ourselves to clean up our own stuff, that we have to go out and get the food. We have to go out and pay the bills. We have to do the things that we're usually told what to do before that point, you know? And yeah, and no one seems to tell us anything. It's because they didn't know to give that instruction. So we had to forgive them for that as well, because they were trying. Our parents and our grandparents, right, and all the generations that came before, if we understand that they're all doing the absolute best that they could, but sometimes their best sucked, then we just have to accept that as is and work on ourselves and hopefully build a better world for our kids.
That's a beautiful perspective. When you tell that to yourself, you know, you cannot be angry at your parent if they did a bad job of raising you, because again, they just did the best that they could, using the information that was available to them, right?
Yeah, I mean, and one of the experiences I unfortunately had to go through, right, was like, so my dad broke 3 cricket bats across my back, okay, as I was growing up, right? The first 2 were store-bought, right? The third one he made, right? That's a lot of anger that my dad was carrying within himself, right? It's a lot of toxic energy he must have been carrying, okay, to actually go and spend the week making this cricket bat just to break it across my back, right? And I had to forgive him for that. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it while he was alive. He killed himself about 11 years ago. But that just shows, again, how much toxic stuff was in there, and I had to forgive him for that because that was the best he could do. You know? I can't pretend to understand all the different ways and stuff. All I have to do is have faith in the idea that that was his best he could do. Or who knows? He could have just been he could have been a natural born asshole. I have no idea. You know? But if I just believe that that was the best he could do, then I can forgive him for doing a shitty job at his best. You know? So yeah. It's a lot easier to forgive in knowing that. So.
Correct. What a shame. What a shame, Shaun, because I really love this discussion. However, we're at the bottom of the hour. But before we say goodbye to our viewers, is there anything that you would like to promote? How can our viewers follow you and get to know more about your work?
Well, I believe Monica's put the links there. I've created 3 self-guided programs to help people get anxiety and those types of things out of the way from being a substantial block, and actually help them process things and actually. So one of the courses is called No More Anxiousness. It's basically a course on how to master your anxiety, not how to get rid of it, because you can't. Anxiety is part of our life experience, but how to master it so that it's not mastering you, right? And the next program I have is called No More Toxic Relationships, and it's to help guide you in creating the skills that you need specifically so that you can do the self-work, you can do the forgiveness methods that I've learned, and let go of past traumas so that you're no longer attracting people that are trauma, like they have a tendency to trauma bond. and actually helps you energetically repel like narcissists and negative type personalities like that. And the third program is a much more substantial program where it helps. So if you've got a business that's been growing and it feels like a very toxic business to go to, or it's just not feeling very healthy, or it's too many dramas, then this particular program is designed to take the drama out of the business and detoxic. And that's why I've called it No More Toxic Business, because it is to break the business up into smaller groups. So you could use that particular platform for 300 employees. You could use it for 20. And there's self-guided ways of doing that I've incorporated into that program so that you can detox your business within 90 days to about a year and a half, depending on the size of your business and depending on how much time you're willing to commit to the process. And in those, there's also a bonus one-on-one session with me, 2 for the business one, so that if anyone gets stuck trying to incorporate these things, that I can help them directly, right? And they don't have to do my month after month program if they don't want to, if they just want those couple of sessions. And so, yeah, so it's no more toxic business, no more toxic relationships, and no more anxiousness to like try and get a better self-guided way of a handle of our lives. And if the more one-on-one approach is preferred, then I also have 3 levels of coaching. 1 is available at the moment. The first level is freedom level coaching. It's one-on-one coaching several times a month, where we get together and we do a deep dive as to where you actually are across health, wealth, and relationships, and we get you to the point that you're safely able to like take it from there. And I don't lock people into 12-month programs. I will lock a 3-month program just to make sure you get started, to make sure you really want to commit to your growth, because some people really struggle with that. And it just helps get that gear running. But after the 3 months, it's a choice of a month by month by month. So that if you're feeling, so say you get all the content you would like to kind of go off on your own and like do it your way after like 6 months, completely free to do that, or after 3 months, or but like that first 3 months is really the crucial part. And the no more anxiousness and the no more toxic relationships and the no more toxic business are spread out over 3 months to get people to engage for at least 3 months, even in a self-guided way, in the same type of manner. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. So that's, I believe, a no obligation consultation, right? That you provide.
Yeah.
So visit.
And and also if you're not in a position to afford that type of level of coaching just yet, that's why I've got the Mapping Our Decade group as well, to kind of help grow people in that direction. I've already done a couple of live videos in there on 9 different strategies that you can use to build wealth over years, and over the course of this year, I've employed about 5 of those strategies to build up back to where we would like to be. And, we're making really good strides in that. So I've created that group to help people grow in that direction until they're ready for the one-on-one coaching, and we can do deep dive later. And again, like I said, no obligation. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Shaun. It has been a lovely, lovely morning discussing all these things with you. So more power to you and NFN coaching.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. It's been an absolute pleasure. As always, I always love catching up with you. And I'm still going to keep looking for that boyfriend for you. And if I find him, I'll wrap him up and send him to your Christmas tree in the mail. I'll probably put some snacks in the mail, so like he's really well fed by the time he gets there. But yeah.
Yeah, that's important. Because a hungry man is.
Yeah. He might be covered by stamps, but
All right. Hi there. So cute. What's your name? He's waving at the back.
Oh, that's Caleb.
Hi.
Caleb, you might as well say hello.
He's so shy.
I see ya.
Wonderful. Okay.
Bye.
So, dear viewers, thank you so much once again for spending your Thursday morning with us, and I'll see you next Thursday. So, this is our last episode for the year. See you for our first episode for 2023. So, this is something that you should watch out for. I'll be chatting with my good friend Anthony Philip Robles. Thank you all so much for being here, and enjoy the rest of your day or evening, depending where you are in the world. God bless everyone.